Options traders are taking big bites on Apple ahead of earnings. Hello everybody, I'm Angela Miles on the floor of the Chicago Board Options Exchange. I have a lot going on with Apple today. 3 calls trading for every 1 put. That straddle is implying more than a 4% move is possible. I have one of my top experts coming on the show to break down the trade. But boy, we're looking at some out of the money call buyers stepping in today. We'll see if that pays off. Moving on, Starbucks has earnings coming out after the close. Watch for this one on the tape. 1 call trading for every 1.5 put so far in SBUcks. A lot of the trade is right around the strike price of 55. So we're seeing some 55 calls and puts trading and some 56 and 56.5 calls trading in Starbucks ahead of this earnings news. That straddle is setting up for about a 4% move. Facebook down $1, trading around $180. Now what's interesting about this one is the news is out. The company came in with more than $10 billion, 2 billion users, but people are a little concerned about this Russian ad connection with Facebook. So there's a little bit of a fear factor. We're not seeing any heavy selling in the stock yet, but we are seeing that implied prices are up on options. So premium prices are up. And I think that's where you can really kind of see that fear factor standing out in Facebook today. By the way, though, lots of calls still coming in. The December 190 calls getting some action today in the options contracts. And then the weeklies are active around that 187 and even the 190 starting to get some nibbles there. So something to watch today with Facebook. A lot of trades going on. Baba, big news on this one. Boy, what an earnings report that was. That stock is up almost $4 today. No let up on the bullish trade there. The 190 and 195 calls are active today in Alibaba as that stock trades around $189 with 2 calls trading for every 1 put. Coming up next, we'll do some trader talk after this quick break, right after this. Paul Foster of the Street Insider joins me now, and he's my secret weapon. We're
Morning,
taking
Angie.
a look at Apple today, and I know you've been watching the options flow now, Paul, for a few weeks here going into this earnings news because, of course, we had that first big event of just the wraps being taken off products. So what are you seeing that's really catching your eye in the trade today in Apple ahead of earnings?
Stock over the last 5 months, Angie, we're at a record high. Obviously, they have earnings out tonight. Obviously, volatilities have been tearing up over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Those front month volatilities and the weeklies are up to 98. This morning, it's upside calls. The November weekly 167s, 170 calls are active, looking like another earnings beat and an earnings raise for the future quarters.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. And the speculation paper I noticed is starting to move in. So we have some people moving into those way out of the money calls as well, just in case we see a huge pop that could be dramatic in Apple, right?
Correct, Angie. So it's people that are bullish, investors that are bullish on upside calls, and people that are short, investors that are short the stock, want upside protection as a hedge, and also the downside puts. November weekly 160 puts are active as a downside hedge.
Ooh, that's good to know. Okay, so Paul, you know what the tradition is with Apple. We see it ramp up into big events and then sell off. Does it look like, can you construe anything from the options paper that this time might be different, that it might actually go higher off of this earnings news?
You know, currently, Angie, those November calls and the December calls, the volatilities are high at 35. Also, some downside puts are also active in November. The November 155 puts, and December 155 puts are active at a higher vol. So yes, they're pricing in movement to the downside more than the upside in November and December.
Interesting. All right, now as far as the options paper and who's buying what, are you seeing the institutional guys come in heavily? Are you seeing just the retail investors come in with the options trade? What are you seeing here, Paul?
You know, it's both, Angie, both the investors and the institutionals. Apple's obviously, again, today the leading option volume trading vehicle on all the exchanges. So it's the investors that are willing to pay up for these calls as a hedge against their portfolios.
Well, I can't wait to see how this turns out. Thank you so much for your help today, Paul. That's a wrap for now. I'm Angela Miles. Have a great trading day, everybody.